Hey everyone, and welcome to today's explainer. So, you've memorized the vocabulary, you've nailed the grammar, but the absolute second you try to actually speak in that new language, total panic sets in. We've all been there. In today's explainer, we're going to unpack exactly why that anxiety hits so hard, and more importantly, we'll dive into some targeted, practical ways to finally conquer it. Let's get into it.
Here is our game plan for today. We'll start off with why speaking is scary, and then move on to the performance factor. After that, we'll explore removing face-to-face pressure, and we'll wrap the whole thing up with building your speaking confidence.
All right, let's jump right into part one, why speaking is scary. Seriously, why is speaking so uniquely terrifying? You know the feeling, right? All eyes are suddenly on you and this massive wave of judgment just washes over you. If that resonates with you, trust me, you are absolutely not alone in feeling this way. Think about it. The fear of public speaking is already super common, even in our native tongue. But when you switch to a foreign language, that anxiety goes through the roof. You're not just worried about getting your ideas across. You're mentally juggling your accent, your grammar, the exact right vocabulary. It basically feels like you're constantly under a microscope.
Which brings us nicely to section 2, the performance factor.
The really crucial thing to understand here is that speaking is fundamentally different from listening or reading. You can totally sit in a quiet room and silently study a textbook, or pop in some earbuds and listen to a recording completely in private. But speaking? That forces you to put yourself out there. You're literally face-to-face with people, presenting your personality. It feels exactly like a performance. And the kicker is, you're constantly evaluating yourself while you do it. And we aren't just talking about giving a formal speech on a big stage. This intense performance anxiety sneaks up on us every single day during totally normal group chats. Just trying to chime in at a coffee break with native speakers can literally feel like standing under a blazing Broadway spotlight. Now, this brings us to a huge variable in all of this, your natural personality. If you happen to be a naturally shy or introverted learner, someone who maybe gets a bit anxious speaking up in your first language, trying to perform in a foreign language is a whole different beast. It is completely exhausting. Contrast that with highly expressive extroverts who might actually feed off the energy of a crowd. For introverts, that face-to-face pressure is just so much heavier.
Moving right along to section 3, removing face-to-face pressure. We've all heard that classic tough love advice, right? Just force yourself out of your comfort zone. Well, actually, scratch that. There's a much gentler, way more effective approach. Step 1. Just completely remove the face-to-face element at the beginning so you actually feel safe. Then, step 2, gradually build your way up to eye-to-eye conversations over time. Let's look at this really cool example from a language workshop. Instead of making learners sit across the table staring at each other like it's an interrogation, the instructor had them walk around the room side by side. Because they were moving and looking straight ahead, the face-to-face element was gone. It completely removed that terrifying feeling of being stared down while trying to string a sentence together. The students loved it. One learner said, "I think it's Benny. It's a Benny way that I never tried, but it's helpful." By Benny, they meant beneficial. Taking away those laser beam stares instantly turned a stressful practice session into something genuinely helpful. But hey, it's not a one-size-fits-all magic trick. Check out this contrasting quote from a more extroverted student. "I'm from Mexico, so I need to maintain contact visual because it's important to feel more comfortable. We are too expressive." For them, staring at a wall actually made it harder. They crave that visual connection to read the room and express themselves. So what's the big takeaway here? You have to find your own comfort zone. Shy learners might desperately need to look away to feel secure. Expressive learners might need to lock eyes to feel engaged. And you know what? There's absolutely no single perfect method. You have total permission to tweak your practice to fit your exact personality.
All right, let's wrap things up with Section 4, Building Your Speaking Confidence. If walking side by side with someone isn't an option for you right now, technology is your best friend here. First, literally just talk to yourself. Narrate your day out loud. Explain what you're cooking, how you're feeling. Second, hit record on your phone. You can listen back and analyze your speech in total 100% privacy. And third, start swapping voice messages or phone calls with a practice partner. You're communicating for sure, but without the deer-in-headlights pressure of face-to-face interaction. It takes the pressure right off.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. But I want to leave you with one really important question. What small step are you going to take today to practice speaking without all that pressure? Are you going to fire off a quick voice message? Maybe narrate your commute home? Look, the fear of speaking is totally real, but as we've seen today, you absolutely do not have to tackle it head-on on day one. Find your safe space, ditch the pressure, and just start talking. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on today's explainer.